Hey everybody, this is Big Toad with ToadTactics, another Raid Shadow Legends video. I had a question yesterday on one of my videos. What champions do I keep? Well, that's an interesting question. It can be one of the frustrating things about Raid because there's so many champions, and what do I do with them all? And and so there's a couple basic rules I want to talk about. We're talking about here a new account, and a new account and a very new account, early game account. You're gonna do things differently than you will later in the game when you have forgot to turn my light on. Later in the game when you have mid to late game, you're gonna have different values on what you keep, and the important thing is doing is not wasting resources, but taking advantage. And so let me talk about that and explain what I mean by that. All right, so this account I have here, um, I've got these rares, right? Well, everybody's going to get Valerie, everybody's going to get War Priest here, and I'm leveling them up to 30. And I'll probably, on both cases, unless I get a great epic or something, I'll probably um, put these up to level 40 because they're going to provide me up to level 40. I'm going to get value out of arenas, and I'm going to get value out of the faction wars with these guys because right now I don't have enough characters to really build a good faction war team, and I have the wrong characters, but I'm going to use them. Okay, so you'll probably have these two, and you should get them up to 40 and use them in arenas and faction wars until you have somebody to replace them. I might even take them to level 50. Again, that depends on what kind of champions I get. If I get a champion that can do better in faction wars than them, I'll use them. But that takes a while because you got to have multiple champions. So they may be my lead in faction wars. Now, there's no risk to that. You're not wasting resources by taking these to 40 or 50 if you have nobody else to work with. But when you start ascending them, that's where you have to make a decision. Is it worth ascending these two? Because knowing that I'm going to stop using them and they may become food or they may just go into my storage and I don't pull them out for the rest of the game for years. So I can always feed these into kale. I can make these a 4-star and I can feed them into kale later if I want. So there's no waste. All right, but those are going to be two champions I'm going to work on. Now this champion here, um, itinerant or whatever, don't even know. I've never used him before. Never used him. I mean, I've seen him in the game. I've got him on other accounts, but I've never used him. Why? Because by the time I got him, I didn't need him. I didn't need him. So so I would use him as food in a mid to late game account if I don't need him. As soon as I got him, I'd feed him into somebody else. No sense in keeping him because he's never going to be value in mid to late game. But right now, he's in my arena team and he's doing really well. So if you go down to the reviews, it'll tell you, what people in the game feel like this champion is good for. And if it's not green, I don't even want to look at it because it's no value to me if it's not a green. So campaign locations, he's okay. Arena, he's 4. Force keep, he's a 4. Magic keeps, so he's got a little bit of value there, but he's not across the board value. But right now, he's in my arena and he's doing good. Why? Because that's where I'm at in the game. Like I said, I've never used him before and never would have thought to use him, but this is what I got, so I'm using him and he's doing his job. Am I wasting resources? Not at all, because when he gets to level 30, again, I'll feed in 3. I'll feed him, make him level 4-star, and then maybe he'll become food later. So it's not wasted. Again, it's not wasted until I start ascending him. But until I have somebody better, he is really the only Shadowkin I have. So I can beat level 1 or level 2 Shadowkin with this guy in faction wars and start getting those tokens. It's better to be able to beat level 1 or level 2 in your faction wars and get those little tokens than it is to just give up on that faction war and wait till you have a great champion. All right, same with Banshee. Banshee here. It's been used a little more reviews. Its Spider's Den is pretty high. Campaign locations is pretty high. Not using really in arena. Nobody thinks real high of it. Maybe Faction Wars 4.3. That's where I'm going to use her. Why? It's the only undead horde I have right now, and I can beat level 1 Faction War with her. So why not? She'll probably become food later. It's not one I'm going to keep and use throughout the game, like Kale. Kale is one I'm going to use in the mid game, and it may even last longer in my tag team arenas where I got to put 3 solid teams together. I might have to use Kale for a while. Probably won't use these 3. When I first open up my arena for tag team, I'm probably going to use all of these because that's what I've got, and I want to have some kind of team out there to try to win those. So again, early game, I'm going to use these. Mid game, they become less valuable. I start thinking about them as food. This green one here, I've used him, and I've got some gear on him. Yeah, I'm not going to keep him. He's not long term. He's going to be food for sure. This one, now he scores a little better when you look out at these. You know, he's got some more greens and stuff. Maybe got a little more. So again, I'm going to level him up and I'm going to use him in Faction Wars. Why? Because he's a lizard man and I don't have any other lizard man. And I will have to get 4 other lizard men that are better than him before he goes away. And honestly, that's going to take a while. I'm going to be using him in Faction Wars probably for a couple months, for a while. Now, same with this guy. He's a barbarian. Now, I've got another barbarian, yeah, but still, for Faction Wars, you need 4. Is he great? He's okay, right? Again, so right now, I'm going to keep him for Faction Wars. I'm going to use him for food later, and maybe, depending again, when I open up my tag team arena, I'm going to use him there. Marquise, okay, she's got a lot better scores. So I'm going to start working on her because she's got value in multiple places. And so I'll probably use her out there for a while, obviously in Faction Wars, but I may also start putting her when I get some levels on her. I might start putting her in Dragon and Spider, Fire Knight, and these other more difficult dungeons. So she's got value. All these greens I've got, this is food. All these are food. Now there's a couple of greens that there's only like 2 greens that most people would ever use for more than just food. And I'm going to go out and look at them. Nope, not there. I want to go to my index. I'll keep pushing the wrong button. So in my index, under Sacred Order, and you can go out there and you can look at all the champions in the game here. I'm going to talk about the index uncommon. These are the green ones. Armiger. He's one that's actually really good. Not for everything. Obviously, you don't want to use him in Demon Lord, and but where his value comes in is in the arena, and also Ice Golem Peak. Look at how big that score is. Why? Because when he kills you, you don't get the res. His A2 attacks one enemy. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived, and his damage is based on defense and enemy max HP. Look at that. So he gets to load up on defense, and if he kills somebody, they don't get to resurrect. So Ice Golem Peak, the Ice Golem has two minions that stand beside him. If this guy kills one of those minions, that thing does not come back through the rest of the game, and that can be very valuable because those minions, those 2 minions, provide buffs to the boss that make him do more damage, and they hit pretty good themselves. So he's a great one for that. And also in arena, man, this guy drops somebody, they can't be revived by one of the other reviver champions on the enemy team. So he has his value in Faction Wars, and he has his value in arenas. He has his value in Spider. He has his value in Ice Golem. That's an unusual green. That's one that I have a couple of my accounts. I've taken them all the way to 60, and I use them in that way. One other one that I've seen guys use a lot, and that's in the Barbarians. And again, I would it's going to be a while before you get a good team of barbarians built up. So for sure you can use him in your faction wars, but that's shield guard. And look at all these reviews here. Campaign locations: 4.8 spiders, 4.6 minotaurs, labyrinths, 4.7 demon lord. Do not use him. Bad. But you can see he's got some really good locations. And so let's look at his skills. Obviously, his A1 attacks an enemy, and he has chance of placing this decreased speed, which is great. Not an unusual talent, but moving on, he attacks all enemies and fills this champion's turn meter by 20% on each critical hit. So you max this guy's critical hit, and he's going against a 5-man team, and he critical hits all 5 of them. He gets another turn because he just 100% filled his turn meter. So he can just wade through your campaign locations pretty quick, because he's going to get a lot of attacks. And that's why he's good in arena too, because he hits that team and he crits every one of them. He's going to hit again. And you can drop it down to a 2-turn cooldown when you get him fully booked. Now, that's something I'll make a point of. And he removes 1 debuff from this champion each turn, which is great in the arena also. So booking these greens on when you're talking about shield guard, when you're talking about armiger, do not use the light blue rare books. Do not use any books. You can also use duplicate champions. In the tavern, you can use a duplicate champion to skill somebody up. So if I had an extra one of War Priest, I could stick her right in here. She'll show up here when I have her. I just don't have one on this account, right? So don't use this book. Don't use this book, because these are for epics and legendaries. But if I had another War Priest, I could put her right here, and bam, I could level up her skills and get a level of skills. Well, that's how you want to maximize the skills, level the skills up in your armiger and your shield guard for green. You want to throw in duplicates. Hey, feel free to experiment with other greens. Maybe you can find something that really meets your need. That's how these were found. Somebody saw them, said, hey, I'm going to try it out, and it worked out really well. But so just to recap real quickly on the blues, there's some blues you're going to want to keep and work on. I'll do another video to talk specifically about those blues, those rare champions that you're just going to want to use a lot, like Kale. But for most of them, they're situational, and be thinking about how far you want to take them without wasting resources, so they provide you value and you can use them for food later. Okay, and that's what you're thinking. You got to think ahead, otherwise you start wasting resources. And this is a game about resources. If you want to spend a ton of money, waste all the resources you want. That's one of the things that Krakens and whales do when they spend all their money. They don't have to think quite so strategically like this. How do I maximize my resources? Because they just buy more. And but for the average player, we need to think a little bit. Now, if you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. We all do. We all spend silver. We all spend skill tomes. We all spend these things in ways and gems where later we say, I wish I wouldn't have done that. That's part of the game. That's part of the learning curve. Don't feel bad. But so in an upcoming video, I'm going to talk about some very specific rare champions that are extremely good, that you're going to want to hang on to for a long time, that are going to provide value in the mid game and even sometimes in the late game. But until then, hey, enjoy playing Raid Shadow Legends, and I'm out. Don't forget to support me by subscribing to this channel. Click the thumbs up below and drop me an email. You can find that in the description below. Have fun playing Raid. Until next time.